Hello, welcome to my office and welcome to this Darwin's Medicine seminar. My seminars are about the life sciences industry, pharma, medtech, diagnostics, which I've worked in, researched and written about for over 40 years now. My interest is in why some firms are better at competing, better at competitive strategy than others. And my aim is to tell you something that is relevant, useful and that you've not heard before. If I manage to do that, then please like, subscribe and share this with your colleagues. And if you'd like the published article that goes with this seminar, then please just drop me a line, let me know. Similarly, if you want to know more about my research, then please get in touch. If you have some years' experience in pharma and medtech, then you'll have noticed something interesting about how our industry thinks about strategy. You'll have noticed that there's almost always some latest fad or fashion or some idea about strategy. Many species of management ideas have risen and fallen, and there's a long fossil record of the latest big things that have come and gone. I'm so old I can remember when direct paper mail was going to be the next big thing. And you've probably experienced waves of enthusiasm for consumer type branding, closed loop marketing, patient centricity, and today all the hype around AI. You might even remember when flat teams were going to revolutionise how brand teams work, and then the hype around matrix structures and management by objectives. Today we're seeing similar claims for agile working. Now, I'm not saying, of course, that these new ideas are useless, but I've learned that they often consume attention and create a distraction out of all proportion to the practical difference that they make. Worse, these fashionable ideas make us neglect the fundamentals like segmentation, targeting, positioning, or alignment between functional objectives and strategies. In my coaching work with industry executives, I'm often asked whether the latest consultancy bandwagon is worth boarding. So let me share what I tell my mentees when I'm in those meetings, and I think that it might help you. Put on your scientist hat for a moment. The best scientists, of course, aren't the ones with the best answers, they're the ones with the best questions. So let's rephrase the question from should we adopt new idea X to what makes one idea more popular than another? Most of us share this implicit assumption that if an idea is popular, it must be effective, so we should devote time and energy to it. But that assumption is flawed. Decades ago, a brilliant sociologist called Murray Davis wrote an insightful paper that helped us to understand two things about how ideas are accepted. First, he told us that contrarian ideas are usually more popular than accepted wisdom. The more a new idea can claim to overturn existing thinking, the more interesting people find it. Second, he told us that interesting isn't always important. So new ideas may challenge conventional thinking, but they aren't always important unless they add value. And some very traditional strategy ideas like strategic focus and differentiation are extremely important despite being old. So if you put Davis's two ideas together, you can understand how contrarian ideas become popular even if they're not important. Patient centricity isn't important if it doesn't actually add value. Value beyond the pill isn't important unless it's customer perceived value. AI will not be important if everyone adopts it in the same way. Davis's work reminds us that just as all that glitters is not gold, then not every interesting new fad is important. You've probably noticed that consultants tap into this preference for interesting novelty over important substance. So their default marketing strategy is to repackage and rebrand old thinking as something that will change everything that you've ever thought. They use provocative words like transformation and disruptive and even Armageddon, I've seen, to make you think that their ideas are innovative and worth paying for. But in reality, these tactics are the same as those used by media shock jocks who have extreme opinions, or politicians who pretend to be outside the established parties. It's all about creating noise to get attention. This hype makes it really difficult to get marketers involved in the fundamentals of their strategic thinking because they're distracted by the latest snake oil. This is important because attention and energy of the strategists is a very limited resource, and they're too precious to be wasted away on fashion and fads. And even if these new ideas do offer value, which sometimes they do, that value can't be realised if the fundamentals of strategy, like segmentation, targeting, positioning, aren't understood. Now, in my experience, the very best strategists already know this. They pay less attention to the hype and more attention to getting the fundamentals right. But unfortunately, it's still far too common for inexperienced or poorly led strategy teams to get sidetracked by some fashionable but unimportant new gimmick. So there's an important lesson here. It's a reality check for strategists. When a consultant tries to sell you a radical new idea that will transform your business, just ask them how that single idea could have such a big impact on your complex, regulated market with as many interconnected and conservative stakeholders that generally doesn't change very much. Or, if they talk about industry Armageddon, think about what they want to overturn and destroy. Because they're talking about overturning an industry that saves, improves, and extends billions of lives every year. And if they want to overturn or transform that industry, then you're entitled to ask them if they might be throwing out the baby with the bathwater. The reality of strategizing in our industry is that our business is massively complicated, and you have to work with an enormous team of many varied experts in a huge number of disciplines to craft complex, compliant, and compelling value propositions. And that value proposition has to address myriad, often conflicting needs of different groups of peers, professionals, and patients, and others. Can one consultant's idea really transform all that? Well, of course, you should welcome new ideas about how to do that, about how to compete. But in this market for new ideas, you should always prioritize important fundamentals over interesting fashion. Thanks for joining the seminar. I hope you found it worth your time, and if you have, then please like, subscribe, and share this with your colleagues who work in strategy in pharma and medtech. If you'd like to read the supporting article, then just get in touch. If you'd like to browse the 300 articles, papers, and books I've written about our industry, then take a look at my website. And if you'd like to talk more about how my research might apply to your business and your situation, then I'd love to talk about it. Just drop me a line and we'll set up a virtual cup of tea. I'd love to hear from you.